This is pretty powerful. You could say that I want users, the top 25% of people who have spent the most amount of time on my website. And then you could also layer that on with specific web pages. So you would go and grab the URL of your page and paste it in here, and Facebook would just grab the top 25% of users that spent the most time on that particular page. Hey there and welcome. I'm really excited because today we're chatting about Facebook ad retargeting, and by the time you're done watching this video, you will be able to set up your very own Facebook ad retargeting campaigns and an understanding of audiences and how to create those audiences in order to get back in front of the people who have either engaged with an ad on Facebook or Instagram, or watched a video, or visited your website and didn't make a purchase, or didn't register for an event, or didn't opt in. So let me share my screen with you here. Prerequisites: you will need access to Business Manager. If you do not have access to Business Manager, if you're watching this video and you're just getting started, go to business.facebook.com and set up your Business Manager account there. You'll also need Facebook Pixel access, and hopefully the Facebook Pixel has been installed on your website with conversion events that are recording back to Business Manager with user behavior and specific actions that are being taken on your website. And you will also need access to Facebook audiences. The importance of retargeting cannot be understated. They most likely will have your highest return on ad spend. They're the highest ROAS, return on investment, return on ad spend campaigns that you will find. Most people don't buy until seeing an ad 7+ times. So many people out there create Facebook ads and create Facebook campaigns. They expect them to be a winner, and they quickly realize that they are losing money on their ads, and they'll shut their ads off because they don't think they have a winner. The reality is you are warming up people to your message, to your product, to your service, and you need to get back in front of that prospect in order to reintroduce yourself to them and get them back in front of your product or service. One question I ask routinely is, you've seen, by the time you're watching this video, you've probably seen 100+ ads today, but how many do you really remember? Can you recall an ad that you saw 5 minutes ago? And the reality is we're so bombarded by ads day after day after day that we become ad blind. And so it's important that your ad stays in front of the prospect, follows them around from device to device, and provides messaging that inches them closer to taking the conversion action that you want them to take, whether that's becoming a lead or becoming a sale. And so it's very, very important to set up your retargeting properly, because it can take a losing campaign or a break-even campaign and turn it into a winner. Before we dive into Business Manager, let's pre-frame this puppy. And so it's a question for you: how has your audience engaged with you? How have they engaged with your ad? How have they engaged with your website? What specific actions have they taken? Have they visited your page? Have they visited a specific page or product? Have they watched a video? Is it a video ad that you have? Or is it, how much have they watched that video? Have they watched 25%, 50%, 75%, 95%? Have they liked, commented, or shared on your ads or on your Facebook page? Have they purchased, add to cart, registered? Have they opted in? So what I like to think of these actions and engagements as buckets, little buckets, and I talked about this a minute ago, but more or less you tell Facebook to place people that have taken specific actions and engagements into their own buckets, also known as audiences. So Facebook calls them audiences. It helps me to think of them as little buckets or baskets of people that have taken a specific action where they land. And then I can tell Facebook, hey, with these people that have visited my website but they haven't purchased yet, I want to create a campaign for them. Or these are people that have opted in, but they've seen my sales page, but they haven't bought anything from the sales page. So Facebook, this is a campaign that I want to create and target those people that have done that. So for example, if you have an opt-in lead magnet, here's an example funnel. You have Facebook ad, Instagram ad that you are attracting people to a lead magnet page. Whoops. And so, begin to think, what are the actions that are being taken where I can tell Facebook to put people in specific buckets. So we can actually start all the way back here on the left. And if you think here, this is timeline-wise or customer journey-wise, taking them all the way through this funnel here. There's specific actions and events that users are taking along the way, all the way back here at Facebook ad and Instagram ad. So once again, we need to think at the Facebook ad and Instagram ad level, what are the things that they're doing and how are they engaging with my Facebook ad and Instagram ad? What are the things that they are doing once they've landed on my opt-in page? Now, once they've landed on my opt-in page, and let's say they've opted in, they've seen my sales letter, but they didn't purchase, how can we retarget those folks? How can we retarget the people that landed on the opt-in page but didn't opt in? How can we retarget the people that were that engaged with my ad but didn't click through? And then if they did opt in and they've received my email sequence, how can I retarget the people that are receiving my email sequence? And then maybe they've already gone through and purchased. How do I set up my audience for purchase? Maybe you have a members area here, and maybe I can retarget those that have gone to my members area. So it's important to think about the customer journey and the timeline of events taking the customer through, and really thinking critically about the actions and events that a user is taking along the way. And then we tell Facebook to create the bucket of people to put those people in that have done that specific action. So for an application funnel, here's an application funnel example. All of these Facebook ads leading to a very simple opt-in page. When you click a button, an opt-in pops up and then leads to an application page that in this particular case is a long sales letter with an application up top, and then leads to schedule, either to a phone call or invite to Facebook group. So what are the actions that are taking on these Facebook ads? They've liked, commented, shared, taken engagement on these Facebook ads. If they've landed here on the opt-in page but didn't fill the pop-up, or if they filled the pop-up but didn't fill out the application, or they filled out the application but then didn't schedule to book a call. These are all opportunities and areas to create those buckets of people in Facebook audiences in order to get back in front of them and get your service or product back in front of them. Let's take a look at a services funnel, a really simple services funnel for a dentist per se. So we have our Facebook ads going to a landing page, going to a scheduler. We can retarget people that have interacted with our ad, retarget people that have landed on our page but haven't scheduled, and then we can also retarget people that did schedule and thank them for scheduling and looking forward to them arriving. Here's another one, Facebook ads direct to schedule. That'd be kind of a direct to the calendar, booking calendar, or direct to back to the home page, or even a pre-frame sales page. What are the actions that people are taking here in order for us to retarget? Google Maps, we're talking about Facebook ads, but if you're running retargeting on Google as well, that's a little bit out of the scope of this video, but you're able to set up, the concept is the same when you're creating Google audiences. We'll cover that in another video. Let's look at a webinar funnel. This one's pretty extensive, but we're attracting from Facebook and Instagram over to the webinar registration page, and then opt-in, and then thank you. And then, so once again, be thinking critically, what are the actions that a user is taking in order for us to continue to get our messaging in front of them, take them all the way down to the action that we want them to take. So once again, ask yourself, what engagements or actions have they taken? A little deeper, what are they thinking when they took that actions, and what questions still remain in their mind that is preventing them from taking the next step and inching their way closer to that conversion action that you want them to take? What are their doubts? What are their trust concerns? What are they thinking about? Jay Abraham is a king at this, talking about preeminence and getting into the mind of your prospect and understanding where they are in that customer journey, so that you can answer those questions and help carry them over the finish line. All of the psychographics as they move through that customer journey, from being unaware to problem aware to solution aware to your solution aware to decision time. And this, thinking about this and thinking about where your customer is in that particular customer journey, will help you write your retargeting ads. So once you know the concept of how to create the audiences and create those buckets of people, then you have to take it a step further and think about, well, what is that person, what's preventing that person from taking the next step? How can I answer their question? What are the things in their mind that I need to mentally check mark in order to get them to the next step? Which buckets are being filled? We've talked about quite a few buckets going through these example funnels, but which audiences are being created? So buckets to fill with people who have taken specific actions and engagements, aka audiences. Here's kind of colder to warmer. The further away to the closer to the sale. So colder, Facebook ad or post engaged, Facebook page engaged. These are engagements that they have taken, interacted with your brand. Facebook video watched. Watch 50, 75, 95%, Instagram ad or post, Instagram engaged. And we're going to go through this here in a moment when we log into Business Manager. Warmer, viewed page, they viewed content, they added to cart, they initiated checkout, they registered for an event. Email list non-buyer, opted in, viewed specific emails, viewed specific pages. Here's even hotter, they've already purchased, they're on your email list as a buyer, they've joined your membership, they've bought in, but you can still retarget to them and maybe ascend them up your product ladder, or just get back in front of them with a thank you and instill some more trust. Once you've told Facebook, hey, I want you to reserve these buckets of people in this particular location so I can put my messaging back in front of them, it's important to know where to use those audiences so that you know when you're creating your campaign how to use them the most effectively. So the anatomy of a Facebook campaign looks like this. You have your campaign, and name it something awesome, some naming convention. Usually I'll name my campaign, if it's retargeting, I'll start with RT, and then the name of the product or service, and then the date, so I know, that I can look back at the campaign and go, oh, that was retargeting. We're in reference to this specific product, service, or brand on the specific date. Now, underneath your campaign, you have your ad sets, and your ad sets are where you are going to place your audiences that we're going to create. So once we create the audiences, that audience, and when we create the audience in Business Manager in the audiences area, that audience becomes available for us to use at the ad set level. So we have to create our audience first, then that audience is available at the ad set level for us to use. So your campaign should be broken up into a few different ad sets using the audiences, specific audiences that we create, if that makes sense. So in this particular case, ad set 1, audience 1 will have a couple ads underneath it. Audience 2 will have a couple ads underneath it. Audience 3, a couple ads underneath it. Audience 4. So each of these ad sets is associated with a specific audience that we create within the Audiences Manager. So now that we have gone over that, we're going to get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty in Business Manager. I'm going to show you how to find where to create those audiences, where to create those buckets of people, and then we're going to take those buckets of people over into the campaign and ad set level, and I'm going to show you where those go. So let's hop over there right now. All right, welcome back. We are in Live Business Manager. We're going to create our audiences, and I'm going to show you just how to set up and use those audiences within your ad sets. Once again, in order to get to Business Manager, we go to business.facebook.com. And when you are presented with your Business Manager, you may just have one ad set to look at, or ad account rather, or you might have a few different tiles of ad accounts that you're looking at. Regardless, you're just going to go into your, come over here. Once you click into an ad account, come over here to the business tools and click on audiences. And then once you've clicked on audiences, you'll be taken back into the audience page. Now I have a number of audiences already created here, and I have lookalike audiences also created. So one of the most powerful things, this is getting kind of to the next step, is those buckets of people that we're creating that we are going to remarket to, those ones that we're warming up already, they go into their own buckets, their own audiences that we can then use at the ad set level. But what's really powerful with Facebook is we can create lookalike audiences off of those buckets of people. So we more or less tell Facebook, hey, Facebook, go out, first off, collect all the people that have landed on my page but haven't purchased, or collect all the people that have opted in for my webinar but they haven't, they didn't attend the webinar, or those that did register. So, you know, we've created that bucket of people, we've created that audience. The next step is we can tell Facebook, and this is kind of going into another video that we'll go into as lookalike audiences, but we tell Facebook, hey, look at this group of people that we have created in this audience. Now go find X amount of people that look like this group of people. And then we can use that audience called a lookalike audience for another campaign in order to attract cold, get our messaging in front of a cold audience and then begin to warm them up. And then they too can join the actual retargeting audience as they go through the customer journey. So very powerful stuff. Understanding audiences is a critical foundational piece in Facebook marketing. I would say it's one of the cruxes, one of the absolute necessities of understanding the power of Facebook and putting it to use. So with that said, I'm off my high horse here. Let me open this up a little more. So here we are back in the audiences. What you're going to be presented with is this blue button, Create Audience, and you're going to click on Custom Audience. Now, as we had mentioned before, we're critically thinking about what have our users done? Have they engaged with my ad? Have they landed on my website? What have they done so far? Now, also let me back up. If we're going to retarget people that have landed on our website, you need to have installed your Facebook Pixel and any conversion events that you want to be tracking for those audiences to be created. So we'll have another video about installing the Pixel and installing those conversion events. There might be a link below this video, linking over that video once we have that available. So back to the lecture at hand, creating a custom audience. So we've clicked, we're back in audiences, we're now creating a custom audience, and here's the sources, the list of available areas that Facebook gives us to create our audiences, create our buckets of people. So in this particular case, let's say I want to create a retargeting audience of people that visited my website. So I'm going to click on website, and they have triggered the pixel to be a visitor on my website in the past 30 days. Or I could specify it to Facebook, we can go back 180 days. So what we would do, we'll rename this. We'll say, I'll call this doesn't matter what you name your audience, just remember that you name it a convention that you are going to recall. So when I click Create Audience, it's going to create a bucket of people, a basket of people that have visited the website in the past 30 days. And then I can use this audience, and I'll see this name of my audience available to be used as an ad set presentation, or as an ad set option, an audience option within the ad set. So let's tell Facebook to create something else. Let's say we want, this is pretty powerful, you could say that I want users, the top 25% of people who have spent the most amount of time on my website. They're the most valuable, the ones that have been in front of my product or service the longest. And then you could also layer that on with specific web pages. So you would go and grab the URL of your page and paste it in here, and Facebook would just grab the users, the top 25% of users that spent the most time on that particular page. Now let's say I wanted to, based on events that I have on the website that are currently tracking behavior and tracking clicks and actions and things that the behaviors that people are doing on the website, I can tell Facebook, create a bucket of people that have added to cart in the past 30 days. They've added an e-commerce item to cart. Now, if I wanted to, they've taken another step further. Not only have they added to cart, but they've initiated checkout. I would create that audience. And what you want to do is create all of these audiences. You want to create every single one of these audiences and go through and create all of these buckets of people, because they'll begin accruing all of that information, gathering all that information, and will allow you to create lookalike audiences that look like the people in your retargeting audiences. Very powerful stuff. What you'll find is your lookalike audiences, when you create your lookalike audiences, let's say off of website visitors, so we've created our retargeting campaign and we're going to retarget those that have visited the website, and then we've created our lookalike audience off of that. Now let's say we have that lookalike audience, but then we've created another lookalike audience off of our purchase audience or our add to cart audience. What you'll find is your lookalike audiences that you create off of the basket of people that are closer to the conversion event that you want to have happen for. Those are the lookalike audiences that are going to be your most profitable, that have your highest ROAS. So back to the retargeting audiences. As I mentioned, you're going to want to create all of these for any users that have visited your page, visited specific pages that you want to re-engage and get back in front of, and the specific actions. So it's not just one audience you're creating multiple buckets of people that have performed specific actions and engagements with your brand. Let me go back. So we've covered website as a source. Now let's say you've been running video ads and you want to create remarketing audiences based on the level of engagement or the level of viewing that the people who have watched your video. So we would say engagement, people who have watched at least 25%, 50%, 75%, 95% of your video in the past how many days? Let's do another one and create all of those audiences, 25, 50, 75, 95%. What you'll find is that those in the 75% and 95% bucket are those that were engaged with the video the longest. They're most likely going to be the ones that convert at a higher clip than those that only watch 25% or 3 seconds of a video. Regardless, create your audiences so that you can use them, so that you can test. Test. Next, we want to create buckets of people that have engaged with our Instagram business profile. So we tell Facebook, hey, Facebook, go out and anyone that's engaged with my business on Instagram in the past year, I'm going to create that bucket here and name the audience. All of these, make it an exercise to go through all of your options to create custom audiences. Make it an exercise, sit down and go through and create all of these audiences. And as I mentioned before, critically thinking about the actions and engagements that a user has taken with your brand, whether it is on Facebook or on Instagram, and the engagements they've taken through your existing ads or your videos on their platforms, and also on your very own website. So go through all of these customer lists. This is a very powerful option to retarget. And I might just create a whole nother video on customer list. I think I'll do that. If you have an existing business where you've been collecting user data, email addresses, phone numbers, names, addresses, things like that, you can upload your list into Facebook and begin remarketing to your list that way. And then also create lookalike audiences off of people that are your existing customers. So if you haven't been marketing on Facebook, that's a great way to start out with audience, with a group of people that have already engaged with you, whether it's offline or maybe on another platform. Here, Facebook sources. Let's look at this one real quick. Facebook page, engaging with your Facebook page. So you would choose the page that they're engaging with, and you could say, hey, Facebook, go out and create anybody that's engaged with my page in the past 365 days. And now I would recommend creating an audience for all of these, whether they've just visited your page, whether they've engaged with any post or ad, whether they've clicked or call to action, sent a message, or saved. So you can see how there's kind of levels of engagement and levels of interaction. Has somebody just come to your Facebook page, bounced off? Well, that's not a very warm person, but it gives us an opportunity to get back in front of them and re-engage. If they've clicked a call to action, or if they've left a comment or saved your page, that's a much warmer person. And that will allow you to, get back in front of them, warm them up even further, and take them down that customer journey. So now that we've gone through these create audiences and where to go and how to set them up, what's going to happen is we have our audiences created back here, and you can see once they're created, like here's a video view audience of customers that have viewed a particular leather bracelet, and they viewed the format 4x5 formatting leather bracelet, and these are the 95%, those that have watched 95% of that video. And so there's 15,000 people in that audience. I can use this audience to remarket to. Here's 75%, 22,000 people. And you can see that we have audiences and lookalike audiences that are created off of our video views. So really, really powerful stuff. And like I mentioned earlier, understanding audiences and these buckets of people is foundational to your success on Facebook. So now that we have our audiences, let's go back and create our campaign so that you can see how to use your audience now. So let's assume that you've created an audience of website visitors. So those users that have clicked through an ad or just visited your page. Maybe they didn't come from Facebook. Maybe they came from Google. They could have come from anywhere, but they landed on your page. The pixel fired, sent their data up to Facebook, and now they're in that bucket of people of landed on your website. So what we're going to do is we're going to create our campaign, and then we're going to create our ad set one of those website visitors. So let me come back over here. We're going to go to Ads Manager. We'll click on Create. And in this case, depending on what your conversion objective would be, in this particular case, this account, it's an e-commerce account, so it would be a conversions objective. When you're creating your Facebook campaign, that's a little outside of the scope of this training right here, but it's important to understand we're always telling Facebook what we want it to do, right? You have to tell Facebook, hey, I want you to do this. I want you to go out and find the people that, one, have taken a specific action for retargeting or specific engagement, but then two, when I create my campaign, what do I want them to do? In this particular case, I want them to purchase an item. So I'll go conversions. And here I'm just going to not name it right now. You can leave that blank. Excuse me. And then this will pop up. Then, well, we won't go over campaign budget. We're not going to go over full campaign setup right here. I just want to show you where you can find. You can see here on the left how Facebook pops this up. It has the campaign, ad set, ad. So campaign, ad set, ad, just like we talk about over here. Campaign, ad set, multiple ads. So your ad set, to keep it clean and to keep everything the way that it should be, nice and structured, your ad set should be an audience. Okay, so you can have your new ad set. We'll click on this, and in this particular case, you have to select your pixel. It asks you which conversion event. In this case, the pixel that's related to the one that's installed on our website. We'll use that pixel. Conversion event, in this case we want people to purchase. Oops, wrong button there. Okay, now audience, our custom audiences. This right here is where we can find the audiences, our retargeting audiences that we just created in the Audiences Manager. So search existing audiences and you're going to find all your audiences that you've created, and then you can use them. And then once they're in your audience, you can further restrict them, but in this particular case, and that's up to you, in this particular case, if you're remarketing to them, I'd recommend leaving the other parameters as is. So hopefully with this training, you are now able to, you understand now the importance of audiences. You understand how to create audiences back in the Audience Manager, in Business Manager, and then how those audiences show up as custom audiences here in the ad set level. So then you can create the proper Facebook campaign structure with audiences specific to each ad set, and then you can create multiple ads underneath that ad set, making sure you're serving different ads and content to that audience, that bucket of people within that ad set. So I welcome any comments below the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.